So I was sitting here this morning with my bowl of cereal and I was thinking about how to overcome insecurities while in a relationship. Now, for all you guys who don't know, I am now married for going on 2 years with my wife, and I had some very vulnerable insecurities when I was dating her. So I wanted to talk about my specific story, give a little bit more information on it, and just talk about how I kind of navigated and still am navigating the insecurities that I bring into relationships. And hopefully it might help you if you are a little bit more on the insecure side. So I'm trying to get my tripod a little set up, so sorry about that. But when I think about insecurities when it comes to relationships, the first thing I think about is past experiences, right? So when you are in a past relationship and you have trauma, let's say, or you have just some baggage that you're bringing into your new relationship, that needs to be really ideally dealt with before you start the next one, right? So let's use me as an example. I came into my current relationship with my now wife, at the time, obviously girlfriend. I came into it having some really hard times when it comes to trust. I just was really just based off of my past relationships and how I was navigating those. A lot of times I was being lied to, right? In my past relationships, girls would tell me, oh yeah, we're in the same spot. And then, we would break up, and the reason would be because they weren't feeling the ways that I was feeling where our relationship was at. And so that was very confusing for me and very vulnerable to talk about, right? These insecurities are from a very vulnerable place that have been passed on to you by your, past experiences, past relationships, even past situations with, parents. There's a lot that goes in with relationships, and that's why I love talking about relationships. There's such a beautiful part of your day-to-day life. And when you find a solid relationship, which I have found now with my wife, makes all of the stuff in the past just totally worth it. So again, to me, the first thing that I would do is, if you are having insecurities that are coming into your relationship, you need to identify, okay, what do I feel, right? Why am I feeling this way? Because of probably past relationships, past experiences. So you need to identify all of those. Number two, you need to really start to work through yourself. How do I let go of some of that? So using my example of trust and having issues with trust, I had to be very vulnerable with my, at the time, girlfriend and say, hey babe, I'm just really struggling to believe what you're saying to me. So can you reaffirm me, right? Now, when it comes to a long-term relationship, you don't want reassurances from your partner. You want to be reassured through your own self, right? So I think that is a temporary fix, reassurance through relationship, but you have to work through it on your own. And the reason why I say that is, God forbid you're in your next relationship and that one doesn't turn out as well and it becomes a cycle. So long term, you're going to want to have to put in the work to repair that. So for me, what I had to do when it comes to trust and my insecurity of not being able to trust my partner is I had to just in my mind work out, okay, Danny, how am I going to give up this thing that I can't control, right? I cannot control what my partner really thinks. I can just believe her from her face value of what she says and her actions, and that's the truth. That's what I can trust in, right? Because if you are really insecure about, my deal was of trust, right? My trust had been broken with past relationships, and that's really hard to come back from, right? But the only way that I knew to start another relationship is I have to relinquish that. I have to let that go. I have to open myself up to love again, right? Which is very hard to do, but now almost, 4 years ago, looking back now, I can say that was a great idea to let that go, because now I'm in a beautiful marriage. My wife and I are expecting our first child. So there's a lot, excuse me, I'm getting some burps from the cereal. There's a lot in your, in your present, right? That you don't really know how is that going to work out. But if you let it go and let your guard down, that will pay off dividends for you. That's a huge thing too. Letting your guard down and really trusting your current partner, right? You need to obviously find someone that's going to really come alongside of you and be a really good partner. That's a really important piece that I think a lot of people miss, is they keep, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You see all the red flags in your last relationship, and yet you keep finding people that are your red flags, right? So the easiest way that I can recommend doing that is you need to be vulnerable from the start. So what I mean is, when you are going on dates, right? You need to open yourself up and say, like, ask a question, right? Oh, how were your last relationships? How, what was your experience with your ex, right? Like, how did that go? And then, they'll talk, and then you can say, oh yeah, well for me, like I have a lot of, just maybe it's PTSD is kind of a good way to describe it, or just like you have some baggage they are coming in with, and then just talk about those specific points of baggage. And then open yourself up and say, hey, what do you think about those issues that I discussed? What is your thoughts? And you would be surprised, at least when I did that with my girlfriend, now wife, it's so funny, I should just say with my wife my wife, she was so gracious with me. She told me, she said, hey, like, just so you know, we just started dating, but I really see a future with you. And I think you're an amazing guy. And she started to affirm me, right? To just tell me what she thinks about me, right? And so those are things that you can take to the bank. Now, you want to continue to build on that, right? So you want to kind of not necessarily just automatically, instantly let go of those insecurities. You want to, have your current partner redeem those, worries and stumbling blocks, insecurities that you dealt with in the past. You don't want to just instantly say, oh, well, this is, we're great now because we had one conversation, right? Don't go into it with reckless abandon. But as you start to open yourself up to the insecurities and tell your partner about it, I think there's going to be a lot of major breakthrough when it comes to addressing those insecurities. Just finished my cereal and I was thinking as I was talking, and I don't want to discount this, so I really want to make sure that you guys hear me. If you have a more severe insecurity where you're really struggling, do not, and I repeat, do not be afraid to go and seek help, right? Go get counseling. Go talk to some friends. Don't do life alone. I feel like a lot of times people, just even with social media, right? We're kind of only shown the best parts of life and not really the rough parts of life. But to me, any of my friends if they were to ever reach out to me and say, hey, Danny, I'm struggling with thoughts of, whatever, no trust, or what you fill in the blank, whatever insecurity, I would love to talk to my friends about that and help work through with them on those situations. So obviously sometimes even your friends, it's just not going to be enough. You're really going to need that extra layer. So do that, right? Do what you need to do to become healthy. I think a lot of times people neglect the power of talking to someone about their problems. And you might be in a place where maybe you are dating someone, but it's just not a safe place to discuss those things, right? You're, looking at your significant other and you're just thinking, I can't really talk to you about this right now. I'm not open, I'm not vulnerable enough, or I'm not ready to make myself open, right? Like what I discussed earlier. I was ready, with my wife to open up about my feelings of just overall distrust in women. You might not be in that situation, right? You might be dealing with some sort of abusive relationship that you're coming out of, or There's just a lot of really intense details that are not, it's not just like a snap of the fingers, right? You can't just snap your fingers and fix what you've got going on. You need to really work through your past. Don't just brush over that. Don't just think, oh, well, once I find the perfect person, it's going to be totally fine. I won't have any problems. I really, really would offer and suggest that you guys go get the help that you might need. So I really wanted to make that crystal clear when it comes to, handling your insecurities. So really the only other thoughts that I have when it comes to just overall talking through insecurities is the only way to move forward is to find your right person and not rush that process, right? I feel like when we're in singleness and we're just trying to get through and maybe trying to find that right person, we rush through the process and we don't properly vet. It's kind of the best way that I can describe it. We don't vet out the person that we're with, right? We want to be I want to be in a relationship. I want to find the right person, right? And I even talked about it in my last video. So definitely go and check that out about like just overall how to deal with singleness and how to find the right person. I think that's a really crucial point. But if you are in a relationship and you do think, hey, this is the one for me, we're just having some issues, you need to establish proper communication. The one thing that my wife and I, and this is one of my favorite parts of our marriage, is we are very good at communicating. Now, I'm not saying that to brag, but we worked on it for the multiple years of dating, engagement, and now marriage. We've worked on our communication the whole time, right? To me, communication is the most valuable asset when it comes to any relationship. So if you are not properly communicating with your partner, that needs to change right away. I mean, you need to have a conversation of, hey, why are we not communicating? Why does it always seem like we're on different pages? I don't like feeling this way. You need to really address that pretty much right after this video. Like, go exit out, subscribe, like, but then go and talk about how you need to get this communication piece addressed, because that is mission critical when it comes to any relationship. You've got to get the communication under control, because out of that, you and your partner create safe spaces for vulnerability, right? Insecurity is all it is you are just bringing past experiences and placing it in your current situation, right? Well, like I said before, utilizing my experience, I brought just not total trust into my relationship, and then all it did was it discounted the beauty of my wife and I's relationship, right? We had some incredible times of dating, incredible times of engagement, and now our marriage is amazing. But especially during the dating phase, there was a lot of times where we had fights, we had disagreements, and it was because of me. It was because of I'm bringing these thoughts from my past, and I'm not really registering with what's happening right in front of me, right? So it's going to provide for you a disservice in your current relationship if you don't, obviously, like I said, personally work through those situations, but then work through them with your partner once you feel like it's a safe space and you are now being able to open up and have those direct lines of communication. Communication is so important, and I know probably this is a very trivial, obvious topic, but I think that communication is something that couples really, they just gloss over. Oh yeah, well, we're always together, so obviously we communicate. Well, are you actually communicating, or are you on your phone, right? Are you scrolling through Instagram? Like me and my wife, we'll just sometimes just be on our phone, and then sure enough, it's like, 2 hours later and we haven't even debriefed like how our day went, right? And so it's very easy, especially in this day and time, to not have intentional conversation. But those intentional conversations that you have with your partner, those are going to help you when you're doubting what your relationship is, you're doubting yourself. There's so many things that can be solidified when you have, like I said, open lines of communication. So I really hope that point, alongside of the getting help point, really registers for you guys, because those are very important, especially when it comes to dealing with insecurities. You can't do it alone. At some point, you have to get that next level. I would think about it as tier lists. So you have your first tier, which is, I'm gonna work through this as best as I can with myself. I'm going to let go of maybe things that you can't control, right? It's out of your control. I'm using my example. Past girlfriends broke my trust. I cannot control that, right? I can't control what my partner does, but I can control how it affects me and how I handle it and how I move forward with it. So I registered that in my mind and I said, okay, I have got to just at some point let those doubts, let those feelings of just non-trust go and say, I'm gonna look at how my current partner, my wife, is treating me, and I'm gonna base it off of facts and not off of my past feelings. Now that's a battle. That's not an easy flip of the switch, but now, going on 3 years, being with my wife in different relationship capacities, I feel very confident that I know that I can trust my wife wholeheartedly. She can go off to work. I'm working from home. She works in an office space. I trust her wholeheartedly. There's no part of me that doubts her, right? She has earned and established my trust. So for you, fill in the blank of your situation, right? Maybe it is trust issues that you're having. Maybe, like I said, it's deeper, right? It's unfortunately abuse, which is, I'm so sorry that you dealt with that. And that is such a wrong thing to have happened to you, right? But now it's happened. So what we need to do is we need to address that it's happened, and then we need to figure out how you personally are going to move forward from that. And then once that first foundational layer is built, you've got to add on to it. You've got to have a community. You've got to have, like I said, a counselor, right? A therapist, or friends, family, cousins. You can go to, I'm sure there's tons of support groups, whether it's on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook groups. There's so many ways to get help. Don't just sit on the sidelines and think, because of my past, I'm so disqualified. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve a beautiful relationship. That's so not true. Everyone in the world deserves a beautiful relationship, and you will find it. But you need to start stacking and get the help and the progress. You need to start moving forward, right? You can't, in life, the best way that I can describe it is you're either moving forward or you're sliding back. There's really no in between. A lot of times people say, oh yeah, I'm just kind of in a standing, like a standby, right? I'm just standing, waiting, I'm sitting there. But in all honesty, if you're not moving forward, you can't just stay where you are, because there's things that you're not dealing with, right? You're just pushing those aside. And I don't mean, every day you've got to get, 10% better. You've got to go hard every day. You're going to have days where you just, need to sit and relax. Totally do that. Take those days for yourself. But you need to continue to move forward. And the best way I can say, based off of my past experience, is after you get that first foundational layer, you've got to start talking with people that care for you, right? Your family. Obviously, if it's really deep and you've got family trauma, you need to go outside of your family circle. So then that's where friends come in. Like I said, potentially a counselor, just speaking with someone. I think there's really great opportunities to get involved in communities. Like for me, I have a church body, right? I have a lot of members within that church that I can go and talk to. I can go and talk to a pastor. I can talk to, even past friends who have now been in, relationships longer than I have. That's a really great one, right? Of like, hey, I'm dealing with this kind of baggage from my last relationship, and it's unfortunately getting passed into my current relationship that is going really well. How did you handle that, right? And ask other experiences. Maybe that's why you're watching this video. You're trying to really say, how do I get rid of these insecurities? That's awesome. You're in an awesome stage. Continue to do that. Continue to find people in your circle, right? I would say that have relational equity. I don't know you as well as your best friend or your longtime roommate or something along those lines. They're gonna know you way better than me, right? So obviously get the help that you can, but as you continue to move forward, you're gonna wanna level up your specific accountability, if you will, right? That's a major point. So I really hope this video was helpful for you guys, and just to unpack some of the ways that I personally have dealt with insecurity in relationships. Now, there's no perfect way to just instantly handle insecurities, right? You're gonna have to test things. So, for me, it was a really, like I said, a couple simple steps. Number one, addressing the parts in me that I have to let go and move forward from. I cannot control the past. I can't control my past partners, but like I said, I can control how I respond to those issues, right? And then number two, it's surrounding yourself with people who understand your past and are helping you move forward into your future, right? You've got to get that second tier of help. And then obviously for the people who, your struggles are really in depth and it's just taking a really long time to get breakthrough for, I would add, how do I get someone to really help me, whether it's paid help, free help from the church, or from, a long time, kind of like a grandpa or a grandma, right? Someone who's been married for a long time, they've had a really great relationship, someone who you admire, who you can really say, hey, I really need some help on some specific things. Can I get you in confidence to speak with me on these things, right? Those are the steps that I would take. Now, every situation is different, but I wanted to just, from my experience, give you what I would recommend if you are dealing with those specific insecurities when it comes to your relationship and it's really affecting your current relationship. So I feel for you guys, but continue to try to move forward. Again, if you're not moving forward, you're just sliding down the slope, right? It's kind of like an inclined mountain. You're either going down or you're going up. There's no in between. So keep pushing forward. You guys have got me. If you have any questions, feel free to comment those down below. Obviously I'm very small on my channel. I just started posting on YouTube, but I would love to connect with you guys. I would love to build a community where we surround each other and we are trying to improve. If you have some thoughts of maybe I said something wrong, let me know in the comments. The reason for my YouTube channel is I want to get my thoughts out there and get some critical feedback, right, on how I can continue to improve, because I want to be the best husband, the best father to be that I can be, right? I want to continue to improve, and I think that YouTube is a great platform to continue to see that kind of progress continue to work. So again, I really hope this video is helpful for you guys. If you really need some more specific feedback, definitely subscribe up here. I've got another video if you're at all interested. Definitely check that one out. Like I said, drop a comment down below if you found this content at all helpful. Give me a like, do the subscribe thing, do all that stuff. And I really, really, really hope that you push forward and you don't get held back by those past insecurities. All right, guys, see you on the next one.